Hey there shooters, Mike Seeklander with the American Warrior Society and Wilson Combat, and in this episode of Going Tactical, I'm going to talk to you about the skill of target acquisition or transitions. Now in this video I'm actually using the Wilson Combat AR-9B, which is the carbine that uses the Beretta magazines. Matter of fact, a superior pistol caliber carbine tool. And of course, to complement that, I'm using the Wilson Combat Beretta 92G Centurion Tactical. They both run on Beretta magazines, and they shoot great. So let's get into the drill. The first thing I want you to remember is that your vision leads everything. So whenever you're shooting, your vision should lead that process. That literally means, you know, if I'm drawing to a target, I'm looking at where I'm drawing to. My vision leads that process. Then it comes back to the front sight or front and rear sight combo on the target to verify the shots. So that's an example of my vision leading. When we're doing target acquisition or transitions, the vision still leads the process. So if you would imagine, once I've finished firing on a target, let's say off to my right, and I want to shoot at a target off to my left, my vision needs to lead the way. So what I mean by that is, as soon as I've fired those shots, and let's say I'm firing 2 shots, for example, the second I've called that second shot as a hit, so I've got the response I want, I know I've got the second hit on the target, my vision starts leading the process to the next target. Your vision is so fast. If you take this exercise real quick and try this with me. Take your thumb, put it out in front of you, and I want you to kind of pretend your thumb is a front sight. And then I want you here in a second to look off to a door or a door handle or something off to your left as quickly as possible. While you look to your left, I want you to try to move your hand as quickly as possible to that same spot, okay? So vision tries to beat your hand. So this is like a little race between your hands and your vision. Here we go. Ready? Go. And what you're going to find is your vision, because you're moving your eyes around all day, every day, is much faster than your body or your hand speed. So if I'm firing at a target and I want to fire at a secondary target, the second I call that shot, I look with both my eyes and my head at the next target. If I were moving the opposite direction, going to the right, same concept. If you look at where my eyeballs are, I'm watching the sights, seeing what I need to see, then I'm going to look ahead of the gun. Now right now I'm moving my head because the bigger the swing, the more my head needs to move. But in reality, if I've got 2 close targets that are, let's say, half the distance between the targets I'm showing you in this example, well, my eyes still lead the process. So my eyes are always leading. So remember this, eyes, muzzle, trigger. So what I mean by that is, after I fire that shot on that left target, I'm going to show you here on the handgun here in a second, my eyes lead the process, my muzzle drives to the next target, and as my sights are entering the lead edge of the target, I start to manipulate the trigger, okay? So let me show you on the 92G here. So when I fired the shot, imagine I have fired 2 shots, boom, boom, okay? I call the second shot, my eyes lead, driving the gun explosively. And I'll give you a little tip on driving the gun. Whenever I'm driving my handgun or my carbine rifle, I'll show you that one here in a second as well, I use my feet to drive the gun. So if I'm moving the gun to the right, I'm actually pushing off my left foot. If I'm moving the gun to the left, I'm actually pushing off my right foot, okay? So to lead the gun, or the eyes are going to lead, and then I'm going to drive the muzzle. To drive the muzzle, I'm literally going to push off with my left foot. So watch my eyes. Here they go. They lead, and I push off with my left foot. And then as the muzzle enters the leading edge of the target area, I'm taking the slack back out of the trigger. Now between the targets, on a short swing, I won't take my finger all the way outside of the trigger guard because I'm getting ready to shoot again. But if I'm actually swinging the gun far enough where I have nothing to do between targets, like a very long swing, at that point in time, the finger may literally come out of the trigger guard because I want to be as safe as possible. In this case, finger never comes outside the trigger guard, call that second shot, eyes lead, and I prep the trigger. So my goal when I get to the second target is to have the trigger prepped and the slack out of the trigger. And I never start that process any earlier than when the actual front sight itself gets into the leading edge of the target. So if this is the front sight, as it gets into the leading edge of the target, that's when I start to take the slack out of the trigger. So by the time the gun stops, I'm ready to fire, okay? Now, if I had the rifle, for example, or the carbine, driving the gun between targets is a little different because in this case, for example, my right eye is looking at the dot, okay? So I can see the dot through the scope, and if I drive the gun to the right target, my face is not going to leave the rifle cheek weld only my eye is going to move. Because if I took my face off the cheek weld and rebuilt that cheek weld, I'm wasting time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take my eyes. Once I fired that second shot, I call a good shot, eyes lead, and then I drive the rifle over. Now, when I'm driving the rifle from the left to the right or right to the left, I find that there's a little bit difference in speed, because when I'm driving the rifle to the right, my right eye is on the dot, then my right eye has to look for the next spot I'm going to try to fire on, and then I'll drive the rifle over there. When I'm moving to the left, I find that my left eye kind of has an idea where the target is, so when I'm driving the rifle over there, I can drive the rifle very, very quickly. But whatever you're doing, no matter what, when you have that good cheek weld, I want you to maintain a cheek weld. Let your eyes and your vision do the work for you and lead the way whenever you're shooting that long gun, okay? Now, the concept is pretty simple, meaning eyes, muzzle, trigger, right? But in application, you're gonna have to push your speed. So when I'm working on my acquisitions with my handgun, I really have to make myself work and drive the gun. If you notice, I'm not just kind of floating the gun over there. I'm literally driving the gun aggressively to the next target. And when I stop the gun, I'm also very careful that I don't stop the gun and have it like break to such a hard stop where it moves. I want to explode to the next target and smooth out my stop. Explode to the next target and smooth out my stop. I don't want to go twang, because then the gun moves around, okay? So in summary, when you work a skill like this, target acquisition, repeat it over and over and over again and build the proper process in your mind as well as in the skill itself. You can literally practice this concept, you know, with a red gun or a non-firing gun or your dry fire gun in your home. Just pick out, you know, 2 light switches or 2 door handles that are, you know, a certain distance apart so you have a pretty good swing, and work on moving the eyes, driving the muzzle, and then manipulating the trigger. Moving your eyes, driving the muzzle, manipulating the trigger. Remember, the eyes always lead everything, okay? So now you understand the differences between the handgun and the carbine and how we would do the acquisition slightly different. I'm going to show you a live fire drill in a future video that's going to allow you to work that skill and train it to a very, very high level. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video on the Wilson Combat YouTube channel, but do me a favor and make sure you subscribe. We're going to be putting these things out on a regular basis, and you don't want to miss any of the future content. I promise you, it's all good stuff.